All right. Welcome to episode 124 of Convos on the Pedicab. I'm here with my friend Robert Dean. He wrote a really cool book called Existential Thirst Trap. We're excited to talk about this book, talk about his life, talk about a whole bunch of things in the book, as well as how it relates to everything that's going on in clown world today. But before we get started, we have to give a shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Balcones Roofing. Have you been leaving your house outside again? Texas weather can wreak havoc on your home, especially your roof. And if you haven't had it inspected lately, chances are that outside elements could be making their way inside. So trust Balcones Roofing and Remodeling to perform a thorough roof inspection and offer long-lasting solutions. They're the only 5-star rated roofers in Austin who specialize in installing the impact-resistant F-Wave Revia and back all roof replacements with a $20,000 guarantee. So to schedule a roof inspection, call 512-937-8805 or visit balconesroofsaustin.com. 512 Boutique Events services all catering and staffing needs to any event in Austin and the surrounding areas. Anything from weddings to corporate events to festivals. They are even equipped to provide bar services. So visit their website today at www.512boutiqueevents.com for contact information. The calendar fills up quickly, so be sure to get your event booked today. Bobby, so happy to have you.
Nice. I was just nodding along the whole time, just giving finger guns and shit.
I know. It's cool. People want to give me money now to advertise their products. It's pretty awesome, yeah. I think it's more like they just support, they just like me and want to help.
Hey,
that's what it is. It's fine. Right now I'm the charity case and I'm okay with it.
That's how this whole book got fucking made.
Yeah, how so?
We did the book, but I crowdfunded to get all the copies. Like I don't have any money. I'm fucking broke. And I crowdfunded. I raised $2,400, and that bought 300 copies and helped me pay to get down to Galveston to do a story. Did that, and then Big Laugh paid for all the shipping. So, yeah, I managed to get it done with, like, the support of my people.
That's awesome. So how many books have you sold?
I don't know. It's all pre-order. So these are all, none of the books that I bought were for sale. They're all to be mailed out to, like, the Washington Post, the Atlantic, and the Chicago Sun-Times and that kind of stuff.
That is awesome. Okay, and any leads that can help you really get this out? Like, did you publish it by yourself or did you get a publisher?
I worked with Big Laugh to do it because it's weird because despite this being my third book, having gone viral three times, and all this other stuff, sick, we got a fucking chainsaw going on.
Yeah, this is a natural podcast. You know, we're in the elements. We're with the people.
Yeah. The
best part is when I have like established politicians in suits having to come on and they have to listen to the chainsaw or they have to deal with like an insect flying over them and you have to legislate. It's good. It keeps people down to earth. It helps people stay humble, you know?
Yeah. No frills out here, baby.
No. You're dictating like policy on the state level and you're getting attacked by insects and mosquitoes. Like I love it. It's my favorite.
No, but like with the book, I talked to Brandon at Big Laugh and we were just like, I went to him because I got really tired of hearing like, well, I don't know if an essay collection's going to sell. And I'm like, I've got bylines with like a ton of places like Mike and Forbes and Fatherly and The Statesman and Houston Chronicle. And I've got them all. But people in publishing are like, well, I don't know if it's going to. So we just decided to do it together. And so I put it out with Big Laugh and it was totally DIY. So I don't like saying it was self-published because it wasn't. In the sense that like, yeah, I did it with a production company, but the cover, every single thing, like the editing, line editing, the cover, the layout, everybody was professional. They're all DIY, do it like everybody's an independent artist that's what they do. So I banded together and got all my friends who were total fucking pros and we like made this thing and it's beautiful.
I love it. How do you feel now that you're done?
Nervous.
Do you feel like a weight got lifted?
No, I feel like there's like 10 more pounds on top of me because when you're just like, oh, when this thing comes out, it's going to be cool. When it comes out in May, but like my next 6 months are just me trying to get like people to read it and to do shows and to promote it. And, you know, it's South by right now. And everywhere I go, I've got a backpack full of books, just like meeting who I can. A lot of times I'm giving them to like musicians or bartenders and stuff like that, because I've given them to every comedian in town has a book, and other writers and stuff like that, but people have always like, why are you giving them to bartenders? I'm like, because I come from the service industry. As far as I'm concerned, these are the people that are going to relate the most to it, and if it's authentically something that they can relate to, that's the ultimate audience. I mean, as much as I want a writer to like the book, that's cool, but the guy who's washing the glasses is the girl that just got off a fucking terrible shift. That's the shit that, like, I feel like that reader can relate to this.
I like that actually a lot. I mean, both of us are coming from the service industry. And yeah, these are our people, right? Yeah. And ultimately, when you make stuff, you're making stuff for yourself, or you're making stuff for the people around you that can relate to it the most.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to, when I did this book, I had one thing in mind. Like, I don't try to, like, my writing is, I'm really influenced by, like, Bukowski and, like, Hunter Thompson and the Beats and Bourdain and stuff like that. But I wanted to write a book that, like, people who don't read can get into, that they can stash in their bag and be like, oh, well, we're slow and I don't want to stare at my phone. I wrote it for the person who's got, like, that one copy of On the Road, next to it is Kitchen Confidential, and next to that is Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and they don't own any other books.
Yeah, I mean, it had a lot of similarities to Fear and Loathing, and it had similarities to On the Road. It felt like a modern.
That's cool.
Yeah, it felt. I mean, that's what it felt like. It felt like a more. And I read those books a long time. Well, I mean, I saw Fear and Loathing the movie.
Nice.
And I read on the Road like in high school or something like that. So I barely even remember it. Right. I just remember that, like, reading a book like that just makes you want to travel.
Yeah.
Which is cool. But it felt like it was written very similarly to those types of books.
Yeah, I mean,
which props to you. You know that I wrote a book myself.
Yeah.
A long time ago. I self-published a book also for non-readers, but it was total garbage. I kept a drunk journal when I was in college, and it was totally incoherent, and then I decided to, like, write sober commentary in between it.
Nice.
And it's just, like, the most disgusting, misogynistic just piece of fucking Tucker Max before he started realizing what was going on, garbage.
I think every
and it, like, I mean, now he's great. Now the stuff he talks about is, like, super, like, it's about, like, relationships and like positive relationships and proper nutrition and, like, growing your own food and having Bitcoin and then, like, actual self-sovereignty, which is really good, but, like, this was, like, pre all that. Like, this book was just all, like, pre all that. But anyway, point is, it's a total piece of garbage, but when I finished writing it, I felt like a weight got lifted off me, and I just felt, like, happier, and I felt like I was able to, like, I could, like, go advance to my next chapter of life.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. And I thought I actually was going to make the bestseller list, even though what I wrote was total dog shit. But I just saw a lot of other dog shit that was out there, and I'm like, well, if this dog shit can make it, then my dog shit should make me a couple M's. Nothing happened. Just couldn't be a school teacher. But the point is, though, I felt a lot more lighter after having finished the task.
Yeah, the Tucker Max thing, like, when I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell came out, it ushered in this whole, like, wave of, like, bro books. That, like, none of them were as successful as that because no one saw that one coming.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like how books work. That's how all cultural zeitgeist things work, is when you don't see it coming. And that one, just, like, a whole bunch of dudes were like, yeah, I like pussy too. And, like, that, that was the message of the book. I read it. I mean, everybody did.
It wasn't bad. Like, it wasn't like a terrible book. Like, it was funny. Like, there were funny parts to it.
Reading it now as an adult years later, it's a super like, it's really, really cringeworthy. But I mean, again, nobody had done a book like that. Nobody
did a book like that. Anyway, the point is, I wrote something like this, and it was total dog shit. And for a while, I was a little upset that it didn't, I didn't get the attention that it didn't get, like, the sales that I thought it should have gotten, right? But now I'm actually really grateful because I'm able to, like, actually make more art and make more stuff that actually has a positive impact on society from a long-lasting basis. Whereas if I had gotten successful off something like this, maybe I would have just been content, right? Or maybe I would have just got a bunch of money really quickly and blown it before I knew before I understood the value of money, right? Or maybe I wouldn't have been as affected or as angry about, like, the lockdowns or some of these mandates that they tried to push on people, because I would have been so removed from everything, living in a world totally isolated from everybody else's concerns, that, ultimately, having failed at this was actually, like, the best thing, I think, because, you fail upwards, right? Or you grow, and then you can make stuff that actually has an actual legitimate positive impact on society. So that's my little rant about it.
I can get with that.
So that was.
I can get with that.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to have this, like, disastrous tale behind you, you're like, oh God, I wrote this piece of shit. Then you're just like the piece of shit guy forever.
Yeah, and I'm not. And I'm like, I'm the piece of shit guy who trolls city council meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone's got their own brand.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, like Tucker Max, no matter what he's writing about, he's always going to be Tucker Max. That sucks for him.
Yeah, but what he's doing now is awesome.
Yeah, but see, like, you have to be invested and to know what he's doing. When you tell anyone who read that book, they're like, ugh. Like, that's why he, like, totally tried to, like, erase that about who he was. It's like when he did Book in the Box and all that. He's worked really hard to, like, rebrand himself because he had to.
Well, I don't think he had to. I think he had tons of money. He could have just literally rested off of whatever he made and been totally fine with it. It's a personal choice because you realize that you want to improve yourself and, you know, transmit that self-improvement to other people to make a positive contribution on the world around you.
Sure. But,
you know what I mean? Because I think that when you get to that level of success, you know, the only time you're going to make new projects or do anything else, provided you don't blow your money, which he didn't do, is because you want to make a different contribution to society. So it's just personal growth. Like, you just see personal growth, and everybody goes through personal growth, and that's a part of life.
Yeah, I mean, I get it.
Like,
I'm in that world, and I know how people perceive the dude.
Yeah, I guess. But I'm just saying personal growth is still good.
Well, yeah,
and
obviously.
The stuff that he's doing now is really good and shows a lot of personal growth. And it's something that is actually really a net positive for everybody to start looking at. Like, if you start following him now on Twitter or reading about like what he talks about, like he wrote a piece about like doom or optimism. It was one of the best articles I've ever read in my life, honestly, about like how to deal with the world around you and how to navigate the way in which the world is changing in a manner that you preserve your individual autonomy, keep your mental health, preserve your wealth, and develop a strong community for what's to come. And it's something that everybody should read.
Sure.
The unfortunate thing, though, is because you get stigmatized as being that one person.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like people are just not going to want to read it because they just think he's only that guy, and that's where the tragedy is.
I'm not the same person I was when I was 25. Are you kidding me? Like, that's when he wrote that. He was in his 20s. Like, at 41, you're like, come on, dude. You don't think we all change and grow?
Yeah.
I'm not shitting on the guy. I'm just saying is, like, the perception
No,
of growth.
I'm not either. I like what he's doing is awesome now.
Yeah.
Not at all. I'm making a statement.
Yeah,
this
is the Tucker Max hour.
Yeah, I don't want to. Yeah, let's go to a different topic. This episode is brought to you by Balcones Roofing and Remodeling. Have you been leaving your house outside again? Texas weather can wreak havoc on your home, especially your roof. And if you haven't had it inspected lately, chances are that outside elements could be making their way inside. Trust Balcones Roofing and Remodeling to perform a thorough roof inspection and offer long-lasting solutions. They are the only 5-star rated roofer in Austin who specialize in installing the impact-resistant F-Wave Revia and back all roof replacements with a $20,000 guarantee. To schedule a roof inspection, call 512-937-8805 or visit balconesroofsaustin.com. This episode is brought to you by 512 Boutique Events. 512 Boutique Events services all catering and staffing needs to any event in Austin and the surrounding areas. Anything from weddings to corporate events to festivals. They are even equipped to provide bar services. Visit their website today at www.512boutiqueevents.com for contact information. Calendar fills up quickly, so be sure to get your event booked today. But, well, no, the point is, though, like, your artwork defines you, and you become known. If you make something, you become known through what you make.
Yeah, hopefully I become known for this fucking
like,
book.
Your what you create lives with you, lives with you forever, if what you make is good and substantive.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
Good, yeah. I think a lot of artists, too, when they make stuff, people get creative and do things for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. I agree with that.
They do things because they want to get famous. They want Instagram likes. They want money. They want to sleep with pretty girls. You know what I mean? They want to have like some kind of weird validation they never had when they were younger. And I think that when you write and make things for those purposes, you know, you just fail.
Yeah.
You're more likely than not going to fail. And even if you don't fail, and you become successful, your failures will be even more magnified because when you have these negative, toxic views of yourself. And you all of a sudden now get exposed to these things that you wanted, that's actually how people die of drug overdoses and how people fall into like insane levels of depression. That's how people have broken marriages, broken families, and just wind up even worse off than if they were just some unknown.
Yeah, I mean, but as an unknown, I've had all those things too.
Yeah.
So, it's all in the book.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of the
A little money would be nice to at least make those things not suck as bad.
a little money would be nice to make things not suck as bad.
That'd be great.
What made you decide that you wanted to write this book?
I quit writing fiction probably 7 years ago, and when I quit writing fiction, I'd always done journalism work. I've been doing it the whole time, and I got really into essays, and I was just like, why don't I do that? Because I never felt like, and this is the most like dumbest shit, but like Gen Z lingo shit that I hate, but like when I started doing essays in congruity with my journalism work is like the first time I'd actually felt seen. I felt like every time I was writing fiction, I never felt like I was me. I was like writing stories and stuff, but it just never felt authentically like who I am as a person and who I am as a writer. And then once I started doing essays, and then I started getting like some popularity through them and started getting published from them, and then like other stuff, I was like, this is who I am as a writer. I write essays and I do journalism work, and there's this Venn diagram of me kind of doing the both at the same time. Sometimes I'm in my stories for a major publication, sometimes I'm not. But that's kind of where I went with it. And then I started getting some stuff published, and then I was like, you know what? I want to do a book like this. And so I just started quietly working on putting a book together. And then I took some like there's like 5 or 6 that have been published in places. Like the Pie one was on Yahoo and Fatherly, and the mixtape one was in Resurrection Press. And I just wanted to do, a collection, and then it just kind of came together, and I worked on it for a couple of years, and next thing you know, it's finally out and gonna be ready to go.
That's exciting. That's super exciting.
Yeah, I'm working on its follow-up now.
What's the follow-up gonna be about?
Same kind of I'm doing 2 at the same time. The next one is pretty much just an extension of this, just different kind of stuff. Like the one, I've got one that I wrote for Pepper Magazine that was about me going back to Chicago and finally being able to like confront that it's where I'm from, but like I don't owe anything to Chicago, because like I left 15 years ago, and when I left is like I was a young writer. I didn't have any connection to the Chicago literary community. I had no connection to anybody except my friends and family. I'm the only writer that I know outside of my mentor.
So I saw that, you grew up in a pretty like blue collar
Yeah.
community, and whenever you go places, you're the writer.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the writer. That's Bobby Dean. He's the writer.
That's it. And so I always had this chip on my shoulder about Chicago. And then like when I had the realization that a couple of different people in my life throughout the timeline that I had like a professional vendetta against, we're like, no, we admit that you're finally good. Like we didn't expect you to actually be able to pull this off. And that like put me in a place where I was like, I'm no longer in competition with anyone but myself. And so I could go home and I feel good about going home rather than like this weird, complicated relationship with the place. Now I'm totally cool. I go back to Chicago for a month every summer with my kids. That's in there. And then I have a new one called The Hungry Ghost, which is about the loss of my recent girlfriend. Like we broke up and I fucking hate it. I basically like spent 2 weeks, 3 weeks now, just drunk over it.
Really? What happened?
I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, okay.
It just
Well,
it sucks.
Honestly, you're out and about, and you got some game, and you're talented, and
It's not.
like meeting pretty girls that have interesting personalities is not gonna be a problem.
It's not about that. It's just when you are absolutely head over heels in love with somebody and you lose them, it's really hard.
Is there any way that you can salvage this relationship?
I'm doing everything in my power to try. It has been a reclamation project that I have not stopped trying to do, and so I wrote about it.
How long have you been with her for?
We were together 5 months. Like it wasn't this like long thing where everyone's like, oh man, it's like so short. I'm 41. I've been divorced. I've had a lot of girlfriends, and that was the one that I was willing to put every bet on. And losing her sucks, and so I wrote about it.
So what happened?
I don't want to talk about it.
You don't want to talk about it. Okay. I'm sorry.
But
well, you know what though? Like the silver lining is you got some really good literature. You got something that on paper that lasts forever, right? Like your relationship may or may not last, but the work that you put on paper that everybody has a chance to read will last forever. For as long as printed media or digital media is in existence, like that lasts for other people to read, and that's kind of cool too. So you got I try to look at it from that other perspective too.
No,
you know?
I mean the piece, The Hungry Ghost, is good. It's a good piece. I put everything into it. It just sucked having to write it. You know.
Do you feel better now that you finished?
No, I just want my girlfriend back. Fuck that piece.
Back? Ah.
You know, it's cool that I got it, but whether or not we get back together or we don't, it's still gonna live. Like, she's a writer too, so it's still gonna live in the book. It exists. It's out there in the world.
I guess I have a different view of this type of stuff, right? Because my whole attitude about these things is that, like, whenever I have like a strong feeling about something, if I get it out, I'm not like upset about it anymore.
Yeah, see, I'm not like I used to be like that. Like when something bad would happen, I just have a bender, and then the next day I'm like, dust yourself off, you're cool. But certain things now, it's like they're just reminders of, you know, your loss and things that you go through all the time, everywhere, and you're like, how do I figure this thing out? And sometimes there is no figuring it out. You just have to endure. As my friend Alina says, the only way out is through.
And I agree. Just like for me, when all these lockdowns and all this stuff started happening, I was really angry and really bitter, and I was like worried that I might get like super radicalized about some of this crazy shit that's happening, you know. And ever since I've been doing like this podcast, and ever since I've been going to these council meetings, and ever since I've been making content, the more content that I make, the less angry I've become.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Because you're getting perspective.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of perspective. Like the more content that I make, the more stuff that I do, the less I have time to be angry. The only time I ever get angry or feel burnt out or feel like this type of anxiety is when I don't make stuff.
Yeah. Where writing's a little different though, because this is like a much easier vehicle. You're like, let's hop on the Pedicab and let's talk. I'm in my as a writer, I live in my own head, and so I reflect on things. Like a big part of like when I drink a lot, which is a problem that I drink a lot, but I do. And when I do, like when I'm really sad about something, I have to drink because I can't cope with what's going on in my head. And that way I can numb what's happening to me, because the things in my life isn't great right now. And so
you don't think so?
Huh?
You don't think so?
No.
I feel like it's the opposite. Like, dude, you just wrote a book that's really good. Life should be great. Life should be fantastic.
I'm broke as shit.
Yeah, so?
I mean, I got child support to pay. I'm broke as shit. You know, I had like one of like the most humbling things as being broke is last night we were doing South by shit.
Okay.
And I'm with my friend who's like an editor, and he's one of my editors, and a good friend of mine who is like all the belief in the world of me. And it's like we're talking about hooking me up so I can finally write for like Rolling Stone and Esquire and stuff like that. I'm at that level. But I'm also like, fuck, man, I just applied to be a fucking shelf stalker at the Dollar Tree so I can make extra money right now.
You know, listen, okay.
You know how humbling that is to be called the best writer in Austin a week ago, and then you're like, shit, I might be having a stock fucking off-brand dog food.
Well, you know, I actually do understand how this feels, because I believe that I have the most underrated Twitter and Instagram account in the entire state of Texas, if not the entire United States, with the content that I'm making. You know, I'm on a similar level. I'm not, you know, Alex Stein is always going to be better than me at this, and he should be.
Who?
But Alex Stein,
Oh.
Primetime 99, Alex Stein, he's the one who's like been trolling the councils, got like super famous, made it on Tucker, all that stuff, right? Okay. Anyway, they're like, I'm a top level master troll, right? Like I am top level, and you know my ability to do what I'm doing at these council meetings, my ability to make these conspiratorial rap songs, like my ability to even host podcasts and do this stuff is on par with people at top level, like alternative type of media publications, right? Like what I'm doing is definitely good enough for me to be able to make a solid living just making content alone.
Right.
You know, it is. And I'm putting out videos that have gotten close to 1 million views. I made it onto Fox News and the New York Post with my clown bit when I went to the city council. But then at the same time, you're driving this little toy tricycle around.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. You know, that's just a funny thing about life. It's just a high status, low status.
I remember when this is one of the most humbling things. I remember when I wrote a piece for the Statesman, it went viral. Like, it's 3 million people read it and shit like that. Everybody was like, I was the shit for like a minute here in town. And I got scheduled to do a reading at like the homeless library on Cesar Chavez.
Okay.
Me and Lucas Mangum went there. One person showed up. You're like, 3 million people just read and shared my shit across Facebook.
And one person shows up.
One person. I was like, damn, life is cold.
Yeah, and then sometimes I spend all day at a city council meeting or all day at a legislative meeting or all day at a school. We're ready to go speak. I do my bit, and then like 100 people see the video. Yeah. Right. Like, but that's how it is as an artist. And you know what? Like, the purpose. What I realized is that the purpose of making art and making content is just so you can make more of it. Like, that's why you're doing it. Like, you're doing it because you love making content, and you know. Hey, having like a ton of views, having a ton of views on your video or getting paid to do stuff like that, like, yeah, I'm talented enough and good enough at what I do, and I put in enough work where I deserve to make real money for what I'm doing because of what I'm producing actually has real value. I believe that fully, you know. But it still doesn't really matter because I love making this regardless. And I think that when you have that love for wanting to make art and wanting to create things, you know, eventually it's going to work out in some capacity. Either you get a big break or you get to do what you love until you croak. And that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know if I have the same point of view.
Oh,
I'm more of a pessimist on it.
I guess I have a different viewpoint on that.
You're like a really positive, optimistic guy, though. That's just who you are as a person. I mean, you might talk a lot of shit to these idiots, but but you're just like you have a sunny disposition about you, period.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
You know, that's just who you are. Me, on the other hand, not so much. I'm more of a, you know, like, I write because I have to. Like,
But why? But why? Why do you feel? Why do you look at the world? Like, because your book was good and it made you want to read more and learn, but it also, like, you have a little more of a darker, gloomier picture of humanity and the world around you.
Yeah, I mean, it's like,
why do you feel that way?
Writing makes you one of the things about writing and doing it a really long time and reading and like thinking, you live in your own head when you're a true writer. Like, you can scribble some shit down, but like, to think about writing is to live in your own head, to like read a lot of Bukowski, read Nietzsche, and like read Dostoevsky and read Nabokov and read, you know, people like Roland Barthes and Octavio Paz, and like, you're reading like dark shit where like these people live in their own heads too, but they've also defined language and defined how we view the world. I come from the similar path of just like, disappointment lives in my bones. Regret is a huge thing for me. That's a lot of it. And I see the world like just in this dark bar kind of way. And it's just who I am as a person. Like, I don't write because I love it anymore. I write because I literally have to just put my shit on paper so I can just vomit it out to feel like human when it's done. Because everything through here, there are parts of this book that were like, I had to talk about my divorce. I had to talk about the things that I've gone through because I only know how to do it on paper. I can do it with a microphone, but by doing it on paper, I'm giving you everything and like, leaving nothing to chance.
It's expressed more clearly.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm better at communicating through writing also than I am through talking. And even when I do my speeches, I have to write everything out anyway before I. Oh, we only got 5 minutes. All right, I guess we're gonna have to do a part 2 of this.
Every time we do these,
it's part 2s are always fun. I always feel like the part 2s always get rolling a lot better. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time that I want to say something and communicate something, like my friend Alex Stein could just go off the cuff and just go and speak at these meetings and murder it, right? But me, I have to actually write down my entire speech word for word and then read it out loud. So, you know, I'm the same way. Like, I have to actually write things down on paper, write it out in like long format of a speech. Or when I'm like responding to like something on social media, I'm like, I write something like 4 times before I send it. So I mean, I think that's, yeah, I feel like I can relate on that aspect, you know?
Yeah, I'm always the world exists to me in a way that I have to document it, not only for myself, but for the idea of like what I'm going through. Like I said, with that Hungry Ghost piece, or when I talked in the book about my depression and anxiety and things like that. Like, trust me, if you're watching this, it's not this like dark, depressing book. It's not. But it's like, I'm honest about what happens in life and how I feel about it. you know, what it feels like to have a panic attack, and like the exorcism of the things that go inside of me. I can give it a home, and then I can walk away from it, but I know it exists in the world.
Of course. Were you having these as a kid, or like did they start when you were an adult, or when did they, like, how did they start?
My panic attacks? They started when I was like in my late teens, and I didn't know what was wrong with me, and then they weren't like infrequent, but I always knew that like I felt weird, and I'd like things really affected me, like depression would come on, and I didn't know what it was. And then as I got older, it got worse, and it got to a place where like I just know how to live with anxiety now, because they put me on meds, but I can't take them because they make me a fucking zombie and I can't write.
What do you? Yeah, and I get you.
CBD and meditation and walks.
What's your diet like before we go?
Oh, I mean, it depends. Like when I have my kids, like shit. When I don't have my kids, I eat a lot of Asian food and a lot of like halal Mediterranean.
Because I struggle with a bunch of learning disabilities myself. And when I've like, the way in which I've like changed how my diet is has actually made it a lot easier for me to kind of push through what I've struggled with, so that I can be happy and function and make it work for me and not let it weigh me down.
Right.
So that's why I'm kind of asking, right? Like, what do you cook with?
What do you mean?
Like, do you cook with pan oil? Do you cook with seed oils? Like, what do you cook?
Generally, like olive oil or like some coconut oil.
Okay. I have a bunch of beef tallow from this company called KNC Cattle, and it's like a regenerative farm in like right in Austin. I have a whole jar of this. I'll give you a jar of this tallow. Start cooking with it and just see if it changes anything.
I'll give it
in terms of your energy and how you feel. Where do you buy your like eggs and your meat and do all that stuff?
I buy my meat from the halal market around the corner from me, and then eggs usually just HEB because I'm poor. Because you know, like I'm not against going to some like person's farm or anything like that. I just haven't made the connection to do that.
Do you know any people who have farms within this area? Because like a lot of people are broke, dude. Everyone's struggling, but like, you know, you could go onto somebody's farm and like volunteer and just do some kind of work on the farm for like 1 day a week and just get your eggs.
Yeah, I mean, I had friends that like had eggs, and like my ex-wife's friend was giving her eggs, and like I was trying to buy eggs too, like that. And I have friends that have chickens, and like I'm all about that shit. I just don't have the hookup right now.
Well, I just think that sometimes like when you're eating a little bit, like when you just eat better food, right, or when you use better money, or when you you know, just when you do these small basic things, or you just try to like limit the amount of poisonous stuff that you put in your body. And I know I was gonna bring a bottle of scotch or whiskey just to celebrate you doing the book, and you told me not to. But I just think when you do all that stuff, like you just become happier by default, and maybe you're different, but for me, like my creativity is like predicated on me being happy, right, and me being clear. So I'm just throwing it out there, you know what I mean?
I'm not anti any of that stuff. Like I'm just usually driven by whatever's going on in my life. That's usually my viewpoint. And then like unless that or something gets stuck in my head, and then if that something gets stuck in my head, then like I can turn it into like a piece. Like it's just my brain does not move in like a straight line. It's like, you're bummed out right now. You should write about being bummed out. Because like right now I already wrote the bummed out thing. I can't keep writing bummed out things. Because the next book, like this is the first time publicly I'm going to say the title to the next book, but the next book is going to be called Sad Clown.
Oh.
Like that's the name of the next book. And it's going to have the same kind of timbre that this one does, but like because I'm not in a good mood, I can only write one of those. I can't write a whole book of that.
I understand, but is there like a strategy, like for when you're in a bad mood, to be like, okay, well, I know what I can do to get myself out of this bad mood, so I can write something with a different flavor to it to keep my audience guessing.
Time. It doesn't really work like that for me. I just got to kind of let things pass, and once they do, I'll be in a different place, and then like wherever my head is at, then I'm writing around that. Like you can't fake an essay where you're like, I'm in a great mood right now.
Oh, no shit. But you could be like, okay, well, I'm going to go work out like a monster for these next 2 weeks and like not look at social media or not read the newspaper or just go do yoga, like make doing yoga a priority, or I'm going to go jump in Barton Springs every day, or I'm going to make sure I go fishing and take a decompression trip and just do that.
I do all that shit now.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, like I go, when the weather's nice, I go to Barton Springs all the time, and I take long walks and stuff, but it's like medicine. It doesn't fix anything. It just kind of like it dulls whatever's going on inside. Like if I'm my anxiety's high, my depression's bad, whatever. These are just medicines. It's not a solution.
Hey, fair enough. All right. How do we get a hold of you?
You can find me on Instagram, literally Robert Dean. You can buy this. You can pre-order it on Barnes & Noble. Amazon keeps going up and going down. I don't know what the fuck is going on with them. So I tell everybody to go to Barnes & Noble. It comes out on May 8th. And if you want to talk about anything, you can find me on Instagram.
Cool. Hey, Bobby Dean, thank you so much for coming on, man.